Have you ever felt like you are your own worst critic when it comes to your relationship? So many clients tell me they think they've ruined their relationships. Here's the truth. Your inner critic is almost always wrong. I'm Brenda Florida, certified life coach. And while it's true, none of us are perfect, our inner critic is especially hard on us. So I often refer to it as an inner bully because that's a lot closer to the truth. It's like when a kid on the playground gets teased because she's wearing glasses and they call her Four Eyes. Well, it is true. She needs glasses. Her eyes, need correcting in some way, but it's totally blown out of proportion to make fun of her for it. So that's sort of how your inner critic is. The trouble is, we have been conditioned to believe our inner critic is right, and that in some way that's going to help us. If we're critical to ourselves, we're going to be better at something. And in truth, what happens is that inner critic, because it's distorted and is a bully, ends up sabotaging our relationships. So let me tell you a little more about how this works. So I've been married twice, and I lived with another man for a couple of years, and then I've had other short-term relationships. So you might hear that and think, good grief, why would I listen to her? She's clearly not good at relationships. That's how my inner critic says it to me sometimes. And it's funny what we do culturally and religiously with relationships. Most of our messages are about staying no matter what, or staying for the children, or believing that the end of a relationship equals failure. Not to mention monogamy is the only right way. Don't even get me started on that. And yet, if you're a tennis player, let's say, you would never say, I am only going to play tennis with one person the rest of my life. In fact, if you said that, people would laugh at you and tell you that's a very bad idea because everyone knows you won't get any better at tennis, right? But think about other things, playing other sports, even a solo sport like gymnastics. We've got to do it with other people. We've got to be coached by other people to help us improve our skills and to expand what we believe is possible for ourselves. When you quit a job or move up to a better opportunity, or maybe you make a vertical move for some reason, or maybe you decide to start scaling down to an easier job so that you don't have to work as many hours or whatever. You don't look at the current job and say, well, that was a failure, so because I'm going to a different job now. We don't equate ending things with failure in very few things except relationships. So, we have so much cultural conditioning around that with relationships because of economic necessity for generations and generations, patriarchy, religion. They've all crafted this great big story that ending relationships is bad for a variety of reasons. They kind of each have their own different ones sometimes. But whatever it is, we get the message loud and clear. Romantic relationships are supposed to last, and if they don't, something's wrong. Or if you get to a certain age and you haven't been married yet, there's something wrong with you. And all these there's something wrong with you messages, when they're happening internally, it's bad enough when they come from outside, but that's not nearly as damaging as when we're saying them to ourselves. I'll be totally honest with you. When I look back on the relationships I had, and all the things that I learned in those relationships, I know they all benefited me. Yes, they ended, but that ending didn't equal failure. If I quiet my inner critic, I can see the value they all had and be grateful that other possibilities are available to me now. But my inner critic would want to distort that truth, like that little girl with the glasses being teased by the bully on the playground. So what do we do about it? Here's the most effective thing I think that I've ever used is the question, is it 100% true? And the only thing you can answer is yes or no. This is what makes our inner critic trip up. And so that's why it works so well. Okay. So any of those critical thoughts, you're not good enough, the relationship was a failure because it ended, you didn't stay and work hard enough on it. I used to get that a lot. All relationships are hard, whatever. Then we ask those critical questions just one at a time. Is it true? I'd like 100%. There's no other possibility in the world. Well, as soon as I say it that way, you pretty much know where this is going, because there's practically nothing that is 100% true all the time. There's always somebody who figures out a different way or breaks that rule or whatever. And so for all of you that are thinking, I have to stay for the children, I've got so many stories of children who are adults or even children who wish their parents had gotten divorced because they had to live in all that tension. I know my kids, they were about 8 to 13 about when I separated from their dad. And so pretty, it's a tough age. All ages are tough ages for kids to have their parents get divorced. And we were very compatible. So we didn't have a lot of fighting and a lot of tension and stuff in the house, or obvious tension. And so my kids were totally shocked. 100% shocked that their mom and dad were getting divorced. And they were upset about it, of course. And then, he moved out and I stayed with the kids in the house, and he unfortunately did a lot of kind of used that to his advantage, and that, I wanted the divorce. I was insisting on it, and I was. And so that kind of made the kids mad at me a bit about it, but I just kind of rode that out because I knew the kids would grow up and they would understand, over time. And so everybody kind of hit it at different times. But they're in relationship with their dad too. So they began to experience, eventually, by the time they were teenagers and certainly as adults, they experienced the same challenges with their dad in a relationship that I did, differently because they're kids, not his wife, but it's the same dynamic. And so they completely understand. And plus, even before they understood it, they loved seeing how happy I was. And I didn't even realize how much happier I could be until I got out of that. And so they could see that somehow, even if they couldn't explain it because they were too young to understand the dynamics, that I was so much happier, and that made them happy, and then as they got older, they understood it. And, it's different for everybody. Some kids get it right away. Some don't get it for a long time. You can't control that. But the best way for you to be a good influence on your children is to show up in your own personal power and not let yourself stay in a situation that is bad for you, because kids get it. Even when they can't explain it, they can't articulate it, they know when something's not good. So that was a bit of a tangent there. Let me get back on track. Once we can quiet down that inner critic, then we can open that space, to take a breath and realize everything I've been telling myself in that critical voice isn't actually true. There could be a thread of truth in it, but it's not all 100%, whatever. So sure, I contributed to some things that made my relationship dysfunctional. Absolutely. But it wasn't just me. It can't be me who ruined the relationship because I wanted the divorce and I filed for divorce. I had a partner in it with me. And so it's not just me. So that's not 100% true. In a relationship, it's never 100% one person. So now I have that space to consider, okay, let me get out of that distorted perspective where I'm the bad guy, basically, and figure out where's the honest part I want to own about the things I contributed, the ways for me that I silenced myself and didn't speak up for myself, so that I can start to craft that idea of a new version of me. What's a higher expression of who I am? I want to stay authentically me, but my authentic self can speak up for herself. It's when I'm out of my authenticity, out of my power, that I silence myself and I don't prioritize what makes me happy, and I don't take myself seriously in those ways. When I'm owning all that and in my power, that's when I'm feeling really happy, even when I have to make a really hard decision. So now I can say, oh, yes, I need glasses, but I don't deserve to be bullied because I need glasses. So I hope that makes sense and resonates with you. I'd love to hear your comments below this video and let me know. So I love helping people quiet their inner critic and show up in relationships, whether it's the one they're in or one they've just started, or maybe they're just dating and getting back out there again, as that higher expression of themselves, that new version of themselves. And I would love for you to book a free call so that you can talk to me about that. It's a free call. The link is down in the description, and we'll have a chat and see if I might be the right coach for you. And also subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos about relationships. I'll see you in the next video.